Hi, I'm Carl Lazouz. This is CNN Student News. You are watching on this Wednesday, September 9th, and we are glad you're with us. Let's get right to it. First up, we're talking about what President Obama said yesterday in a speech made directly to you. Work hard and stay in school. Those were the main points of the president's back-to-school address, which he made at a high school in Arlington, Virginia. It was available for classrooms around the country, but viewing it wasn't mandatory. Some schools and teachers chose to show the speech, others didn't. As we reported Tuesday, there was some controversy leading up to this address. Some people suggested that it might be a disruption during the school day. Others were concerned about the president talking about political issues to public school students. He didn't really discuss those. Instead, he focused on the importance of education and your responsibility in getting the most out of it.
But at the end of the day, we can have the most dedicated teachers, the most supportive parents, the best schools in the world, and none of it will make a difference. None of it will matter unless all of you fulfill your responsibilities. Unless you show up to those schools, unless you pay attention to those teachers, unless you listen to your parents and grandparents and other adults and put in the hard work it takes to succeed.
Okay, on our blog and on Facebook, you guys had a lot to say about this. Jacob notes, the president's just encouraging us to stay in school and do our work. As long as he doesn't mention anything about healthcare reform or any other politics, that's okay with me. Sierra on Facebook says, there are definitely policies I don't agree with, but I'll never know unless I listen to what the president has to say. Nirav writes, I don't get what all the fuss is about. Don't our teachers tell us to study hard and achieve something great? The only difference now is that it's the president. But back on the blog, Alex says President Obama's speech seems more like a call for students that are 18 by the next election to vote for him. From Mackenzie, Obama is not my favorite president, but I will watch the speech simply because he is the president. And Leanne wrote, it seems like this is just another speech. I'm tired of the government not understanding us students and how we feel.
Is this legit? Benin, Ghana, and Senegal are all countries in West Africa. This is legit. You'll find all of these countries in the western part of the continent.
And right now, you'll find all of them struggling through severe flooding. According to the United Nations, 16 West African countries, including about 600,000 people, have been affected by heavy rains. More than 150 lives have already been lost. The UN says the flooding in one of those countries, Burkina Faso, is the worst in 90 years. The organization's working to get help to the victims, but it also says that this is kind of a mixed blessing, since the rain will actually help the harvest in countries that depend on farming. We're moving to Afghanistan, where ongoing violence in the country's Kunar province claimed the lives of 4 U.S. service members yesterday. The region has seen an increase in clashes recently between American forces and the Taliban. And in the capital city of Kabul, a suicide bombing at the city's airport killed 2 people and left 6 others wounded. Meanwhile, a chunk of the votes from last month's presidential election in Afghanistan are going to be recounted. The country's Electoral Complaints Commission made this decision after determining that there was clear and convincing evidence of fraud at a number of polling stations. Most of that is related to ballot stuffing, unusually high numbers of votes cast for only one candidate. Presidential hopefuls need more than 50% of the vote to avoid a runoff. Current President Hamid Karzai is currently leading with more than 54% of the vote. Well, if you want to find out more information on that recount, or some daily discussion questions of the stories in our show, or maps that pinpoint the location of cities and countries in the headlines, you'll find all of it, plus our blog and tips on how to send us iReports at cnnstudentnews.com. This website is great. You want to go there. Go ahead and make us your homepage today.
Time for the shout-out. How many voting members are there in the U.S. House of Representatives? If you think you know it, shout it out. Are there 100, 250, 435, or 585? You've got 3 seconds. Go! $435 voting representatives plus 100 senators make up the U.S. Congress. That's your answer, and that's your shout-out.
And Congress is back back in session after 1 month off. One of the first things on the agenda, President Obama's speech to both houses about health care. He's making that speech tonight. We'll have more on it tomorrow. This recess wasn't necessarily a vacation for many congressmen and women. While they were in their home states, many members of Congress met with the people they represent to discuss some of the political issues coming up in this new session. And some of those meetings got pretty heated. Well, now that the representatives and senators are back at work, we are going to be taking a look at what they're working on. In our new segment, it's called Capitol Connection, and CNN Radio's Lisa Desjardins brings us the inside scoop from inside the building.
Like many of you guys, Congress is just now getting back from summer break. So members are flying into Washington. They're putting on their special little pins that get them through security, and they're getting right to work. And they have a massive list of issues to face in the next 2 months. At the top of the list, global warming, financial reform, student loans, and of course, health care. I know many of you may be sick of hearing about healthcare, but it is at a pivotal point right now. So pivotal that tonight, President Obama will do something very rare. He will give a speech before Congress in the middle of a congressional session. Why is he doing that? Well, the truth is the president doesn't have the votes he needs to get through the healthcare law that he wants. So tonight, he may propose a compromise, and he certainly will be trying to get more votes out of Congress. At the same time, many Republicans and even some Democrats don't like the president's ideas. You can bet that they will be emailing me, even as the president is speaking, to tell me why they disagree. That's just one fight. Remember, financial reform and global warming, those debates are still ahead. With Capitol Connection, I'm Lisa Desjardins.
Thank you, Lisa. Well, serving up some tennis now. A teenager's been upsetting some folks around the sport. But in this case, that's a good thing, at least from her point of view. Melanie Oudin of Marietta, Georgia, is ranked 70th in the world. But she's taken on some of the best players in the sport during the current U.S. Open, and she's won. That includes former #1 ranked Maria Sharapova. Monday, Oudin took down 13th seed Nadia Petrova and became the youngest American to make the tournament's quarterfinals in almost a decade. Recently, the 17-year-old talked about playing against some of the world's best.
Very good. Realizing that I could actually win, I think, was my key thing. Realizing in the first set that she was no better than me and that I was right there, and whether I won or lost the match, like at that moment I knew that I was right there with her and I can compete with her.
Pretty impressive stuff. I know she could beat me. Finally today, we want to get back to the topic of education, specifically yours, and what you might want to change about it if you were given the chance to do that. That is the question we asked some students recently from Piney Grove Middle School in Cumming, Georgia, when they came for a tour inside CNN studios. Check out what they had to say.
I would change the price of college because it's too expensive and not everyone can afford to go to college.
I think that teachers need to be more rigorous in their work because some students just like slack off.
If we worked harder and we were stricter on this, and the teachers were stricter on the students, then maybe we would be like really smart and the students would have a better future as an adult.
One thing I would change is the classes they offer at school, because I think like in middle schools they don't give you a big enough variety.
I think in middle school and high school you should be able to choose your classes and when you should have them.
Change the classes so they would be smaller because you get like more information and the teachers can focus on you more.
I would say that people shouldn't drop out during high school because education, I think it's important.
Some great ideas there. We're always looking for your input on our show, whether it's through our blog, which you can find at cnnstudentnews.com, or more recently, a lot of you, as you saw in some earlier comments, have been on Facebook. The URL for that is facebook.com/CNN Student News. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow, Thursday, when CNN Student News returns. Have a great day.